Okay, good morning, everyone. I'm Christine Boland from Remax Ace. I'm trying to make it a habit to introduce myself because I have a lot of people reaching out to me online going, "You don't say what brokerage you're from, you know?" And I think we have a pretty good thing going here for training as far as Remax Ace is concerned. So I think we should make that something popular when people are watching us saying, come to Remax Ace. We've got lots of good training here. Speaking of that, we're going to touch on the new and improved version of TRESA, all the new changes that have come about with some of our forms, some of the rule changes, some of the bylaws that we have to adhere by. So the first thing I wanted to touch on is what is TRESA? A lot of people don't know. So let me just go here. Sorry, I've got to go log into my email real quick. Just make sure I have my tab open. We are governed by several different bodies. So we have CREA, which is the Canadian Real Estate Board. And then we have OREA, which we're going to touch on real quick because they're the ones that are providing us with our forms, all of our forms that we use to create our daily, do our daily work, working with buyers and working with sellers. And then we have TREB, which is, of course, the board that we're all associated with, the Toronto Regional Real Estate Board. One second, I'm just going to go here and open up my training. Probably should have done that while I was chatting with you guys. So here we go. Training. All right. I'll come back to you guys and share the screen now that I have it open. Okay, so what is TRESA? So TRESA stands for the Trust in Real Estate Services Act. So what does that mean? What's the act? The act is it's consumer protection legislation governing the conduct of real estate agents and brokers trading in real estate in the province of Ontario. So it governs Ontario. So we all work under Ontario, under OREA, the Ontario Real Estate Association. So we're all governed by TRESA. What does it mean? So it means that if we do things that are against TRESA, we can't say as real estate agents and brokers and brokerages that we weren't aware that this practice wasn't allowed because we should be familiar with TRESA to some degree. I know it's a big, long, long document, but it basically replaced REBA and we should be working with TRESA now. And if we do get any RICO complaints or TREB complaints, they're going to be referring to TRESA. Hi, good morning. They're going to be referring to TRESA and they're going to be referring to what we should know and what we know we should, how we should be conducting ourselves on our day-to-day business when we're working with our clients, right? So we talked a little bit about OREA. OREA creates all of our forms. So just some basics going back to TRESA that I know I've seen complaints with our not necessarily our agents, but just agents over the past that I've had to deal with is that our forms are exclusive use to us. Okay, so we have to be very, very careful with the use of them. So that being said, we only have access to them through our membership with the board, right? So right now we're making the switch from web forms over to SkySlope. Anything in SkySlope is exclusive use to us. So it's privileged documents that we're using. So we should never throw them up and share them on our social media. We shouldn't share them with our clients. I know I've seen instances where complaints have been made because a client has called and said, hey, for an agent that I've seen before, clients called and said, hey, you know what? I would like to rent this property to this person and I don't have a lease. And I know you did a beautiful lease for me last time. You know what I mean? It's on your board paperwork. Can you send it to me and I'll just fill it out? Right. Some of the agents have shared that information. So you can get into trouble for that because we're only supposed to be working with those documents. The legalese in that document protects us as agents working for the board. And it's exclusive use to us as real estate agents. Okay. Another thing I wanted to mention to you guys, I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm going to stop the share and go into our SkySlope here real quick. All of our forms are copywritten. Okay, so also something to make note of. Okay. And especially this year, you see there's been tons and tons of changes in our forms. So even if we just take a basic Form 100, okay, we have the agreement of purchase and sale. At the bottom, you see all our forms are copywritten, right? So they'll say what the newest version was. And so this one says here, copyright 2024. I don't know if you guys can see that. It's tiny, tiny under the realtor sign there. Okay, at the bottom left hand of the corner of this form. So not only are you guys obligated to be using the newest form, so the worst thing you can do is go back to old kits. So especially now at the beginning of the year, deals that you did last year, last summer, you're going to say, oh my God, I did a condo deal very similar to this. Let me go back to that kit and use it. You should not be doing that. You should be practicing opening up new kits all the time, because we're obligated to use the newest version of every form. So that being said, it's a safe bet to be using the templates from our office. When you go into SkySlope and you open up a new template, they're managed by me, and I go in every week and I make sure I upgrade the template. So that being said, if there's a little change in the form or something, they'll say newest version available. So even if you're using a 2024 from January, there might be a slight change to February or March. I don't know if you guys noticed how often you've been in the kits, but the confirmation of cooperation changed from 2 pages to 3 pages, and it went back to 2 pages. And you're like, what? What's going on? So that's them, because they're in a big process of changing all our paperwork right now, which is what we're going to talk about a bit. The last point I want to make about the forms is you also want to make sure that it's the newest form that the other agent is using. So if you have a co-op agent and they're sending you an offer, they might be doing the same thing as well. So take a quick look to the bottom of your form and just make sure that it's the newest, like 2024 version, at least at the bare minimum. And if you find it's a 2021, you might want to ask him to resubmit on better paperwork, because there may be big changes in that form that aren't going to be accepted going forward, right? So we have a whole lot of chatter about this new RICO information guide. So what is this RICO information guide? We'll just go and we'll open up one. Let me go here to our forms again. I always have like 75 things open on my screen, so I have to go and see. So we have the new form. Okay. So everybody has seen this, okay? What has your guys' clients' reactions been to this? Have you guys worked with clients that you sent this to that you've worked with before? Anybody? So this document is a little overwhelming. It's a little, I think it's very good because it does explain everything. We should be sitting down and explaining most of this with our clients anyway. So it's just talking about different types of representation we can have with our clients, whether you're a client or you're a customer. It used to be customer, we used to say. TRESA has now taken away the use of the word customer. We're not allowed to use it anymore. We use self-represented party, which I'm going to go ahead and talk about that in a minute as well. But we have this big, long RICO information guide. So I can tell you clients that I work with already. I just did a listing there in Port Hope. I sent her this document and she called me and goes, what the heck is this? She was really overwhelmed. It's a lot of reading. So I think the best way is, if you were explaining to your client before, just to explain them again. Yes, you can read over the document, but the basics are, it just talks about different types of representation, whether you're self-representing or whether you have, seller representation or buyer representation from me, and at what level that I'm protecting your interests, right? And the signing of it is just saying that I presented you the guide. So if you have any questions going forward, you can, read it over and always shoot me a text and let me know. But we should be getting them signed for every deal that we do now for our clients. Okay. The other question I've been getting a lot, and I don't know if you guys have noticed, when you're opening up your kits, Form 810 is missing. So that's a new one. I've had a lot of panic calls from the agents in this office in the last few weeks going, I don't know what happened. Where's the form? I can't find it. So basically, TRESA has decided that between this new RICO information guide and all the other information in our documents, that we do not need Form 810 anymore. So what was Form 810? Does anybody remember? It was our working with a realtor document. So I'm just going to go back here. Oops, wrong share. Okay, that was this one that we used to work with. So it no longer exists either in web forms or in SkySlope. You guys should be not using web forms anymore. You should be getting familiar with SkySlope. But this was our Form 810. So we no longer need this document signed with all our deals. We pulled it from all the kits and it's no longer available in the library. So you don't have to worry if you can't find that form. Just make sure you're getting the RICO information guides signed, right? Okay, so let's just look at a couple of changes that happen under TRESA. There's a few touch points here, and I'll just do the Coles Notes version of it. Okay, so changes to written agreements and disclosures, a new principle based on code ethics related to integrity, quality of service, and conflicts of interest. Well, what does that mean? It means all disclosures made by real estate salespeople must have the word disclosure prominently displayed. OREA provides us with disclosure forms. So TRESA implements some changes to the contents of written agreements and outlines new agreements for disclosures. So we have certain disclosure forms. We had the disclosure for acquisition of property and the disclosure for disposition of property. And that was us making disclosures as real estate agents saying what our disclosures were, whether we had direct interest in the property, whether we had we were owners, whether we were going to receive, commission on the property. They made us make those sort of disclosures. So what we have here is, I think it kind of replaces the SPIS. If you guys ever use that form, did anybody use the SPIS? Anybody use it with their clients? So I was really, informed over the days when I was getting trained by older agents not to use the SPIS because it was kind of a catch-22 for our clients where we were making them make this is the condition of the property. And then if anything happened that they were making a lie, like they said, oh, the roof's about 5 years old and it ended up being 7 or 8, then they'd come back on our clients if they had sort of misinformation. So a lot of us don't use it. I don't know anybody that loads it on their listings. I inform my clients not to. Very often I take the SPIS to the appointment with me and I might use it as a checkpoint to go over different things with our clients during the appointment. But other than that, we weren't using it that often. So what we have now is a seller disclosure. So we're going to look at Form 299, seller disclosure of latent defects. Okay. So maybe it's time to do my patent and latent defect training again. Does anybody remember what a latent defect is? Can anybody tell me what a latent defect is? I'm just going to stop and share the screen again in case you guys can't see that.
Hidden defect.
Yeah, hidden defect, exactly. Something you find out after, right? All good stuff. So it's something that's not visually available to see. So if you're walking through a property, patent defect would be, mold on the ceiling. You can see that black mold. You might be able to ask the questions, hey, was there a leak there before? Is there damage to the property? Is the roof leaking? Does it need a new roof? Whatever, those kind of questions. A latent defect would be something that you wouldn't know. So if you purchase a house in the winter and you close in the winter and all of a sudden spring comes and your basement's flooded, that's something you wouldn't necessarily know. You wouldn't necessarily know that every time the snow thaws that property is leaking on the regular. So that would be a latent defect that the seller is supposed to disclose. So us as real estate agents, we should be asking the questions of what kind of disclosures our clients have. And very often our clients are very scared to disclose. They say, oh, no, I don't want to talk about that because, that might make someone not interested in the property. Well, I always tell our clients, don't worry. If somebody's not going to be interested in the property, it's better to know that ahead of time than after, because ahead of time, they won't purchase the property. And that's a good thing. If they're the type who wouldn't purchase the property, they'll definitely be the type of client who would purchase the property, find out after, and it would be a big deal. So then you'd be caught up in lawsuits and you'd be caught up owing some kind of compensation to those people for not disclosing that latent defect, right? So what we have now is TRESA has said that we have to get a seller disclosure. So before, we used to just tuck it in maybe the broker remarks, right? We might say roof is leaking, basement leaks, or ask listing agent, call listing agent for disclosure. And then I might tell the guy on the phone, hey, by the way, there was a fire last year, or maybe I'd write an email and we'd consider that sort of like our disclosure. No, we told them about that. Now TRESA is saying that we have to have the word disclosure prominently displayed. So in order to accomplish that, we have the seller disclosure latent defects form, right? So basically you're just going to say what the property address is, what your name is, salesperson, broker, broker of record, what brokerage you come from, the date, the client name, and this prospective buyer. Okay. So you put the prospective buyer's information on here and you're going to say what the property defects are. So, it was a defect. So maybe there was a fire. Okay. And there's nothing for systems, but the improvement was that it was remediated appropriately from the city and been cleared. Right. Or maybe you're going to say that the basement leaks every spring when the snow thaws, and the improvements, you could say waterproofing needed to the property, right? You're just basically disclosing any information you have. So it's in writing and the disclosure is prominently displayed. And you're going to check that along with your accepted offers, right? Because you have to have everybody sign at the end of the day, right? And say what the disclosure is. So any questions about disclosures for that? No? Okay, so we'll go on. We'll go on to the next thing. So we touched a little bit about the RICO information guide. So the RICO information guide is basically talking about different types of representation that you're going to give your clients. So we talked about self-represented parties a little bit. Okay. And the way the guide described it to us when I sat for the TRESA training, and I was learning about, exactly why we've taken this form and why we've taken working with a realtor out and whatnot. Working with a realtor was pretty basic. It was quick to the point. And I talked a little bit about my client going, whoa, why is all this information getting thrown at me? It's 12 pages of RICO information guide. It's basically designed to scare our clients from being a self-represented party, right? We're trying to protect our industry. We know what we're worth. We know that we're trained to see different things throughout the process of a transaction. We're used to reading the forms. We're used to negotiating. We know what the market conditions are. We're doing our research every day. It's designed to scare our clients from self-representing, right? Because at the end of the day, it's kind of a dumb move. It's a dumb move to self-represent yourself during a transaction. Most of the time, you're dealing with a minimum of $1 million transaction. And if you're not familiar with doing it on a regular basis, there's potential to make very large mistakes in one of the biggest transactions of your life, right? And especially when you're self-representing selling, you're not representing yourself, but 99% of the people are going to come with a buyer agent. So I always say that it's silly because when you go up to a for sale by owner, they always offer you more commission than you get on the real estate board. They say, no, I'm going to give you 3% if you find me a buyer. And I will say that's really funny. You're going to pay somebody 3%, you're going to pay them more than what you'd pay a regular buyer agent to represent only the buyer and do the transaction completely unrepresented yourself. So it's kind of a really silly thing when you think about it. So we used to call them client and customer, client and customer. I find over the years that was very confusing. I never used the word customer. And I never encouraged anybody to be a customer because customer still sounds like you're servicing them to some degree. You're still representing them to some degree, right? So they've changed it. They've taken the word customer, and they've only kept client. Client is somebody you're working with, somebody who you're going to sign a representation agreement with. But the self-represented party, now that says a lot. I think that says a lot more than customer. So I think this is a good change. This form is here. The idea is to never, ever have your client sign it, really and truly, unless you have somebody who's absolutely insisting. So there are those people out there who insist they do not want to have any representation from you. What does that mean? So you're going to get them to sign this form, and you're going to get them to say, okay, you're self-representing yourself. Okay. So you are not providing them any service whatsoever, meaning you are not giving them any real estate advice. You're not telling them what the pulse of the market is, what the recent sales are. Because once you start giving them advice that uses your expertise, you're representing them now. You're imparting information on them. But can you do a showing for a self-represented party? If someone calls you and you sign the self-represented party, can you do a showing for them? Does anybody know the answer to that? Okay. So yes, you can. So what happens is I have a listing, okay? And someone approaches me and I say, do you work with an agent? No, I don't work with an agent. Okay, would you like to work with me? No, I want to work by myself. Okay, great. Sign the self-represented party. I'm not representing you. Now they say, can you do a showing? I can't say, no, I'm not doing your showing. I'm not representing you because I still have a due diligence to my seller. Okay. So here's where I'm providing customer service, like we used to remember customer service before, but they're self-represented. So basically what's going to happen is I can facilitate the showing because I'm servicing my seller client, right? I'm not giving them any expert advice by walking them through the property. Right. If they direct questions to me, then I have to remind them that they're self-represented and they can search for that information on their own. Okay. If you have a self-represented party and you're giving them advice, then you should be signing them up as a client at the end of the day. You have to keep on reminding them of that. Okay. And it's a very good way to, when you get them to sign self-represented party and they start asking these questions and you realize that they have to discover these answers on their own because they don't have access to it or they don't know the information like what year the house was built or when the roof was last done, and they have to discover this information themselves. It's a good way to convert them into a client. Okay. Does everybody get that information? And I know I was really confused by this form and I was wondering, I go, well, what happens if you have a self-represented client and you want to turn them into an actual client and you want them to sign and say a BRA with you? I said, do you have to cancel this form? Well, this form isn't actually an agreement. Okay. This form is just an acknowledgement and consent. They're acknowledging that you're not going to give them any professional advice. So there's no start, as you'll notice, like with our BRA, there's no start and end date, and there's no promise of anything. So they don't actually have to cancel it at the end of the day. If they were to turn into a representative, then you would just get them to sign the BRA with you. Okay. At the end of the day, basically our board is helping us. I really like the new changes. I know it's been overwhelming for everybody we've not only been switching systems within web forms to SkySlope and Authentisign to DigSign and Stratus to Realm, and it's been really, really overwhelming, but this is actually one of a refreshing good changes that I've seen in a really long time happen on our board. Because they're really vying for us, because this is helping us show our worth to our clients at the end of the day, right? We're showing that, if you're a self-represented party, you're going to have to go seek individual advice anyways. So if you're doing that, why not use an agent? Because especially on the buyer side, it's a free service. It's a free service for you to be represented because the seller is paying us at the end of the day. So why not have that representation? I don't understand why buyers would come and want to be self-represented. I think it's a really overwhelming task when you're purchasing a property, right? I'm just looking at my notes here. So I was talking about you can't give them any advice. I just wrote here, nothing from skill, knowledge, or tools as a realtor. Okay. Meaning, like I was saying, if they ask you what is the age of the property, when was this property built, we have access to that information through Geo Warehouse. So don't go to your Geo Warehouse and provide them with this information if they've decided to be a self-represented party, because that's using tools that you have that you're paying for. You're paying to be part of this board. That's one of your tools that's connected to being part of the real estate board. You don't have to give them that advice once they've signed it, right? So, I mean, I find the stigma with a lot of the public lately is that what do? You're a real estate agent, you just throw it up online and it sells. Or you just walk around, show houses and put the paperwork, just sign the paperwork, put it together. I don't think people realize the stress level and how much we have to be that wealth of knowledge for our clients and all the powerful tools that we have access to within our board. I remember when the sold statistics, when the board finally said, okay, yeah, we'll release the sold statistics to the public. I want to say maybe it was 6, 7 years ago now. Because I know these websites like Zolo and Zillow are really fighting to have that put online. And there was absolute panic at the brokerage. Everybody was like, that's the end of our career. Like, what's going to happen if they put the sold statistics online? What do our clients need us for? And I was laughing. I was like, you guys don't realize this is where you guys have to learn what we're doing as real estate agents that's worth something to our clients, because it'll help you in so many different areas. It'll help you not only not have self-represented parties, you'll be signing everybody up as clients. It'll help you get more commission in your listing appointments. It'll help you retain your clients. It'll help you get referrals. It'll help you get repeat clients because they see the worth in you, that you're this wealth of knowledge and you have access to all this powerful information. So remember that. So the idea is not to have someone sign us at the end of the day. And the RICO information guide is definitely meant to spook off our clients and tell them, hey, it's a difficult job we have at the end of the day. So let me just talk here. It's not a, okay, 216. Yeah. So it's not an agreement. It's just an acknowledgement and consent that they're going to go ahead and work on their own, and that's fine. So even if they sign an SRP, the other misnomer I've been getting is, so we don't have to get any information about them. We still should be completing our FinTrack because we're still working with them to some degree, and we still need to know who they are and what their name is, information, stuff like that. Okay, so I think I can go on to designated representative, right? Just want to see if there's anything important I'm missing here because it's a new topic for all of us. Okay, so I think we'll go into designated representative. Okay. Does anybody have any questions so far on what I've covered? No? Everybody's clear? Okay, so we'll go on to designated representative. That's 11. Okay, I don't want to run out of too much time here. So we have listing agreement, which is our regular Form 200. And then we have listing agreement designated representative. So I'll just open up this first one here. It's for a lease. It's for landlord designated representative agreement. So when you sign your regular listing paperwork, you're signing the brokerage to be working with your client at the end of the day. Our forms have always been between brokerage, okay, and the landlord. And all that means is that the landlord is hiring Remax Ace to work on their behalf to list their property for lease, in this case. And then, going forward, say that that client really had a big problem with you and wanted to fire you and wanted to cancel this agreement. Basically, at the end of the day, the broker of record has to sign. So that's why you see cancellations and mutual releases and stuff like that need broker of record signature. The reason for that is because technically every agreement you're signing is directly with the brokerage. Okay. So now they've added these forms where you can put designated representative in. So what are the positives of being a designated representative? Does anybody have any idea? So being a designated representative means that you're the only one in that brokerage that the client wants to work with, right? So how can that be beneficial? Anybody guess? Okay, so we have this little thing called multiple representation. Okay, so a lot of people get confused that, if I'm working for the seller and I'm working for the buyer, that's multiple representation. But say I'm working for the seller and someone else from our brokerage is working for the buyer, that's also multiple representation because we're working in the same brokerage, right? And the client has signed with the brokerage. So being a designated representative has its perks because now if that situation happens, that say I'm the seller agent and someone in our brokerage is the buyer agent, we no longer have to disclose multiple representation because I'm a designated representative for that person, right? and the buyer agent isn't, and they're working with me, and so it's not multiple representation. We're not multiply representing both parties. Does anybody understand that? So I think it's a good advantage because we don't have to be disclosing this all the time. A lot of times we get asked, when we have a bidding war, when we get multiple offers on a property, people are always saying, "Oh, is one of the offers from your brokerage?" That's definitely something that we get, and they always think that we have some sort of advantage that way, or that we cheated them somehow that way because maybe we know them or they're our friend from our brokerage. And we all know there's 175 of us. We don't know every single one of us personally. Just because it's from the same brokerage doesn't mean that's necessarily true. So a lot of times that sours our deal, and that kind of uh, makes them think that there's something going on in the background. So we don't necessarily have to disclose that if we have our designated representative form signed, right? Okay. So I just wanted to touch on that quickly. Let me go back here to some more points and see what else I'm missing. There's so much to cover. There really is. I could almost do 2 sessions on it, but let's just see what we can cover today. So listing agreement and the remuneration payable to any other brokerage. So our ORIA's existing standard form includes a space to insert the cooperating broker's commission. So we always say the cooperating broker's commission. So we have a total of 5%. The co-op is 2.5. So we know we're getting 2.5. However, it's the decision of the seller about how much remuneration is payable to any other brokerage and needs to be a conversation that happens between the listing brokerage and the seller. So even if there's 2.5 on the co-op, we know that there's always an unknown in the listing commission, right? So we don't know what the total is. Even though we're getting 2.5 of it as a buyer agent, we don't necessarily know what the total is. The total could be 1, the total could be 1.5, 2.5, 0, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, we don't know what that is. So the contents of written agreements must clearly outline the circumstances where payable remuneration may change. Okay. So very often we had, okay, I don't know. You know what? I'll pull up the document. It's probably easier for all of you who aren't necessarily familiar with it. So let's go to the document real quick. Okay. So we have our document here. And we have the total commission here, right under where it says commission. So we would put our 5% here or our 4% or whatever we're doing as total commission for our clients. And then we put the space here, 2.5. So that's what we're offering to the co-op commission. Okay. But there's this line here. So this line is in case it's not a straight percent. So sometimes we might say, $500 flat fee plus 2.5% to the co-op. And then we'll put the 2.5 here. Or some cases, they were saying that we were putting in this line, if we double end, we will give a lower commission. Okay. So it's become a really tricky line because we know that when we're in multiple representation, we always have to let the co-op person know, all co-op persons know involved if somebody is offered a lesser commission, right? That's just standard in a bidding war, what we should be doing, right? So if we have 10 offers and one person says, okay, 900 is my client's budget. That's the max they can go. But you know what? I'll take less commission. I'll take 2%. I won't take 2.5. Then we had to disclose that to all parties. So all 9 other offers would know. Okay. In our listing agreements, we have to think of it as the same now. So if the remuneration that we're offering is on a sliding scale based on if we're double ending, that's less. The practice is not allowed anymore, and it needs to be part of the written agreement. So what that means is if I've said I'm going to offer 5% commission, but I'll do it for 4% if I get the total, meaning that I'm taking only 1.5% instead of 2.5. When I'm doing that, even if it's not a multiple offer situation, there's many people, I must be putting in the written agreement that I'm taking less, right, for that. So all other interested parties know. And I always have to reduce it to writing. Okay. All right. So this is pretty standard. RICO Discipline Committee has the ability to suspend, revoke, or apply conditions to registration, investigate a realtor's conduct, and refer to the matter to the discipline committee, whether a formal complaint is made or not. So that's always kind of been a standard. They added this where a formal complaint is made or not. I don't know whether they're planning on going after people more aggressively. Usually the rule is with Treb and Rico, unless someone complains, you're really not getting investigated for something. But that's not a safe way to play. You should always play within the rules because regardless, if somebody sees it, then you're definitely going to get in trouble for it. But generally, they don't look for complaints, but they're saying whether a formal complaint is made or not, they can come after you for investigation, right? We talked about the mandatory RICO information guide. So just remember that that's replaced Form A10 now, and it covers a whole lot of things. And it has a lot to do with the self-represented client, which we don't really want. Moving forward, there's two terms realtors need to know: client and self-represented party. So client is the one we're working with, and self-represented party is the one we're not. Self-represented party is not receiving services from a brokerage with respect to the trade. Okay. Customer service agreement. So 810 has gone from our kits. Customer service agreements are gone as well. They no longer exist in our library. You can't find them on web forms or SkySlope, so don't look for them. They're not there anyways. Okay. Sellers have the option to disclose the contents of offers, which allows them to direct the brokerage to share details other than personal identifying information of competing offers. Oh, okay. So this is a form I haven't gone over yet. That's why I keep my little cheat sheet. So we now have, before we weren't allowed to disclose any contents of any offers whatsoever. So now we have the opportunity to do it. So let me bring up the form and just show you guys real quick. So we have a property up for sale, okay? And we get into a multiple offer situation. During that multiple offer situation, I'm going to go back and I'm going to tell everybody I have 10 offers and my seller has allowed me to say, yeah, go back and tell all 10 offers that 3 of them are over $1 million because I want over $1 million. So 7 of them have to come up if they want any chance of winning, right? And I also want them to know that 2 of those are firm. So I really want to make sure that more people come back firm with their offer. Now, we don't necessarily know whether the really low numbers are firm or whether the high numbers are firm. We can choose how to strategize that as agents. But a lot of times they found that after multiple situations would end, if they didn't end the way the client necessarily wanted, obviously, then the clients would complain and say, well, I never told you to disclose that, or you shouldn't have disclosed it in that manner, or I only said to say that, I had a firm offer. I didn't say it was the highest one, regardless. During our multiples offer situation, now we're required to fill out this form. And it's kind of a little headachy, but it will protect you in the end because we're already busy. Say we have 10 offers on the go. We're busy doing those 10 offers, and then we got to stop and sign this form. But you cannot do it until you're at the point of negotiating those multiple offers that evening while you're working on them. Okay, so we have this new Form 209, seller direction to share substance of offers. I've included it in all the kits. I think it's a little confusing to you guys. I've had a couple calls saying, hey, how do I fill this out? Do I fill this out now? And you don't have to fill it out with your listing agreement. It's not one of the listing paperwork you need to submit to the office until you get to the multiple representation point when you're going over the offers with all the agents that have submitted an offer to you. So you're just going to fill it out and you're going to say seller information, right? And brokerage information, and then your information and what the property address is. Okay. And you have 10 offers, and your client has said, okay, yeah, you know what? Tell them we have 3 highest offers over $1 million. Okay. So I'm going to say 3 highest offers, 3 out of 10 offers over $1 million. Get his initial. Okay. And then he wants me to say, you know what? But the 3 highest offers aren't firm, but they don't know that the 3 highest offers aren't firm. Maybe the top guy will firm up if I say, tell them that 2 of my offers are firm. Okay. So I'm going to put it here, conditions, get my client's initials and say 2 offers we have in hand are firm. whatever, however you want to explain to protect yourself, to say what's happening between the discussion of you and your seller. So whatever they're directing you to do, this is where we're going to be writing down and getting their initial. So they can't say it's saving two things really at the end of the day. It's saving you from your client saying, I didn't say to disclose that, or I didn't say, to direct them that way. But it's also saving our clients too, because there's some really rogue agents out there who just say things anyways, even though they know their client, it's not their client's wishes. Like I always call agents and I always ask, hey, what's your client expecting? It's just a habit. And I know they're not supposed to tell me, but you'll get 1 out of every 10 who'll tell you, right? And that helps you with your buyer at the end of the day, right? It's not wrong for me to ask, it's wrong for them to tell, unless they have written direction from their clients, right? So definitely get this signed from your clients, but only at the time, like I say, of while you're in the middle of the offer and going back and forth with your clients. Any questions on Form 209? Like I say, it's a lot of changes, a lot of information happening all at once. So like I said, every single time you guys are working, always reach out to me. I'm always here for you guys to say, hey, I'm in the middle of this. I don't remember what you said to do in this situation, or I don't remember what form you said to use, and you don't necessarily have time to go back and watch this whole YouTube video when you're in the middle of working with your clients. So text me, call me anytime, and then, I can help you in the middle of that situation. Sometimes we go over these subjects and they're a little bit boring. They're not our regular training where we're learning how to get leads or learning how to make more deals or something at the end of the day. But, when you see RICO guidelines paged out and new TRESA rules and, new forms to go over, these are the ones that are the most important for you guys to attend, because at the end of the day, it's these mistakes that'll cost you the worst in your career, right? Not knowing what the new changes are in your board. It's up to you to be educated, because when you go to RICO, you can't just say, I didn't know. I didn't know. You just because you don't know what the changes are to new TRESA doesn't mean you're not governed by it, right? So at the end of the day, you're 100% going to get in trouble for it if you do not know what the new rules are, right? I'm just going to see here if I missed anything before I finish up with you guys. So designated representation model to limit the occurrence of multiple representation. So we talked about that a little bit, right? Talked about self-representing party. I think we're pretty much over that there. We'll go over self-represented party if anybody gets confused, but I think it's pretty self-explanatory. I really don't want to focus on the self-represented party because, like I say, truly, even when I attended the training, the gentleman doing the training said it's dumb to represent yourself, and basically all the new forms are designed to spook our clients from doing it, right? At the end of the day, that's what we should be doing. We should be informing them. Spook sounds like a bad word, like we're doing something bad to our clients, but at the end of the day, it's like how we would spook our kids from doing something that's wrong or dangerous, right? Like it is a dangerous thing to go and represent yourself in such a large transaction. I think it's a silly thing to do. Like, I'm not a doctor. I wouldn't go perform surgery on myself, right? I'm not, a lawyer. I wouldn't go defend myself in court. So why wouldn't you be represented in this transaction? I think that we have to really push that with our clients and uphold it. Our career, our profession, that's the word I'm looking for, our profession at the end of the day is more understood, because like I say, there's a lot more involved. And that's why it's so easy to, convert for sale by owners and convert people who are self-represented, because at the end of the day, they realize what difficulty it is working. I just want to look over my notes real quick before I let you guys go. Well, they went over Form 309 quickly a little bit. So some people are asking for this during our transactions. So buyer not non-Canadian warranty. So if we have somebody who falls under this, they can say that, no, I don't fall under the foreign buyer's policy, and I can, purchase a home, and you can get your clients to sign this. I find more often than buyer agents being worried to use this, it's seller agents asking and looking for this from their clients. I don't work a ton with overseas buyers or foreign buyers anyways, so it's not something I use on the regular, but if you guys do, that form does exist now if you get asked for it. So you're not like, what form? What is that talking about? Um, and then there's just some new clauses that we can be using. Again, if you guys come across any instances where you need like anything for the new vacant home tax clause, if somebody's purchasing and they want to make sure that the seller's made a disclosure that, you know, it's not a vacant home. Um, and stuff like that. There's some new clauses, but again, they're per case that you guys are using them. So if you ever even if you come across a clause that doesn't exist in our library, I'm pretty good at writing clauses. I've been doing them for almost 20 years now. I can write a clause off the top of my head for something like if they want to say that, I don't know, the teddy bears stay in the basement, right? Like, I don't know, something really obscure that you're not used to, that'll stick for the most part. You guys can call me and I'll help you curate a clause anytime for your deals. So I know I was doing some crazy ones on a commercial deal yesterday, and I was like trying to think up clauses that covered the needs of that our agent and his client. So we can definitely work together on all of that. So does anybody have any questions about the new TRESA rules? Like I said, it's a little bit boring, but a very important subject. So don't take for granted that, um, you're sitting here and you're like, oh my God, it's so much and whatever. What don't have to watch back this video. Like I say, just be careful what you do. And if you're unsure and you're like, oh, I think she said something about, disclosure and I don't remember, just call me. Call me and say, hey, what were you saying about disclosures? And I'll just go over it briefly again and remind you guys of what the new rules are on it. All righty. Everybody having a fantastic week. It's almost St. Patty's Day this weekend. You guys should be pushing out some marketing. We're creating flyers with our productivity teams. We're trying to send out some flyers. We've done it now almost 3 months consistently with anybody who's followed along and done it. I think it's a fantastic way to be pushing in your farm area. We're pretty much coming up to the first quarter. So you guys have to look back at what your goals were for 2024. If you're falling low on what your goal setting was for the end of 2024, you better pull up your socks because you really only have the next 2 quarters. Okay. So I know it seems like, oh, yeah, it's really early in the year. It's 2024. That relaxed mentality will get you nowhere in 2024. You have to pull up your socks. You have to say, second quarter is our strongest. We're coming into our strongest quarter. So you have the opportunity to make up anything you were lacking in the first quarter. Okay. So we're going to go into April, May, June, strongest months for real estate generally. Last 2 years have been a little weird, but generally it's the biggest, right? So let's just pull up our socks and focus and do a little goal setting and figure out how you can manage your business. So look into some marketing, look into calling your farm area, look into sending out some flyers for March, St. Patty's Day. We're designing a St. Patty's Day flyer right now. So ask me if you need anything, and I will talk to you guys next week. Everybody take care.
Thank you, Christine.
No
Take care, you
problem.
too.
Thanks. Take care. See you.
See you. Bye.